Tanya Rodriguez. My speech is about daycare costs, and my target audience would be parents. Can you imagine having to choose your career based on your childcare costs? Do you go back to work after having a baby to working an 8 to 5 job? Or do you find a job at night just so that you can avoid the rising cost of childcare so that your spouse or family members can watch your child? Having a baby is supposed to be one of the happiest times in your life. After your baby is born, you should be able to go home, settle in, and enjoy your new baby. Instead, most parents spend a majority of the 6 weeks of maternity leave worrying about childcare costs. According to Syracuse.com, the average child care cost of an infant per year is almost $10,000. For a toddler, it's almost $9,000 a year. And for a child older than the age of 6, it's almost $8,000 per year. Most families have to decide if going back to work is worth paying the high prices of childcare. Childcare costs differ on where you live, the type of childcare needed, the child's age, and how many children you need daycare for, and how many hours a week your child will be there. The average household income for a family where I live is $49,000 a year. For a female, it is $25,000 a year in Cayuga County. An example of how costly childcare is: I have 3 kids. If I were to send my 6-year-old to daycare, that would cost me almost $8,000 a year. My 2-year-old would be almost $9,000 a year, and my 7-month-old would be almost $10,000 a year. That would total out to be more than $27,000 a year for childcare. If the average family income is $49,000, childcare would cost my family more than half of our income. If I was to go back to work and put all of our children into daycare, it would actually cost our family money according to the average income guidelines for Cayuga County. As a parent, you don't want to just put your child into any daycare. You want to make sure that your child is cared for and that they are kept safe. Cutting costs on childcare, if you do need to return to work, for most parents is not an option. Childcare costs do increase depending on where you send your child. Daycare facilities are more expensive compared to a daycare run out of someone's house. I do understand that daycare providers do need to charge a fee because, for them, that is how they support their families. According to Kirsten Gildebrand, the average cost of childcare per year increases by $550. Most parents do pay for childcare because to them, the safety of their child is their first concern. But shouldn't you be able to afford daycare and know that your child is safe? Childcare shouldn't cost you more than half your family's income. When my son was 2 years old, I was a single mom working a full-time job and going to school full-time as well. My son was in daycare for just over 25 hours a week. I was paying $125 a week. I also had to provide juice and a snack for the entire daycare once a week. I was able to complete 1 semester of classes before I decided that I couldn't afford to have my son in daycare to further my education. I was torn between working and going to school with the hopes of finding a better paying job in a future career and paying for daycare. I eventually stopped taking classes and started working nights so that my mom could watch my son so that I could avoid the daycare costs. Daycare costs needs to start decreasing for the sake of families and for single moms. I do believe daycare costs put a huge strain on families. You should be able to work and put your child or your children into daycare and still be able to provide for your family.